For thousands of years, we've pictured the Garden of Eden as a real place on a map, a paradise we somehow lost. But what if that's not the point? What if its real value isn't about geography, but psychology? Today, we're going to look at Eden not as lost history, but as a kind of map for our inner world, a blueprint for an ideal state of being. And we're going to see what this ancient map can tell us about our own search for meaningful life.
So this is the big question we're diving into. Let's set aside the idea of a physical location for a moment and instead treat this ancient story as a powerful symbolic guide. Think of it as a map of meaning that lays out the fundamental architecture for human flourishing and, just as importantly, shows us what happens when that architecture comes crashing down. Okay, so to really understand paradise, we first have to grapple with what came before it. And what's fascinating is that almost every creation story, from ancient Babylon to the Bible, starts with the exact same fundamental problem: the struggle to create a known, ordered world out of a terrifying, unknown chaos.
The very beginning of Genesis gives us this incredibly stark image of what's called primordial chaos. Now, this chaos isn't necessarily evil. It's just pure, undifferentiated, and frankly frightening potential. It's the raw material of reality before any structure, before any meaning has been carved into it.
So you've basically got these two opposing forces, right? On one side, you have chaos. That's the infinite, the unpredictable, the darkness where anything could happen, good or bad. And on the other side, you have cosmos. That's the world we know, the ordered world with its rules, its light, and its predictability. The act of creation, then, is literally the act of carving a cosmos out of that chaos.
And this is why the ultimate goal of creation in these stories isn't just about making things tidy, it's about establishing what religious scholars call a sacred space. This isn't just any old territory, it's a place where the world makes sense, where the rules are clear. It's a place where you can get your bearings, not just physically but psychologically. A place where you can feel oriented and safe.
And this brings us right to the heart of Eden, because Eden is the ultimate sacred space. It's the archetype of a perfectly ordered world, designed specifically for human life to flourish. Its very architecture is a kind of sanctuary.
Psychologically, we often picture this order as a kind of archetype, like the Great Father or the Wise King. This figure represents all the things that keep us safe: tradition, culture, the protective structures of society. Think of it like a house. It has walls and a roof that shelter us from the storm outside, providing stability and security. That's the kind of order Eden represents.
And get this, the very word paradise tells you everything you need to know. It actually comes from an old Persian word that literally means a walled enclosure. So Eden isn't just a garden, it's a walled garden. It's a sanctuary, a space of protected delight that is deliberately separated from the boundless and potentially dangerous chaos that lies just outside those walls.
But here's the thing. This sanctuary isn't some kind of passive resort where you just kick back and relax. Nope. It's a dynamic, living system. You could even call it a relational ecology. And humanity has a very specific and very active role to play in it.
The first thing that defines our place in this ideal state is vocation, a purpose. We're given a job to do, to work, to cultivate, to maintain the garden. This meaningful work isn't a curse, far from it. It's the very thing that connects us to our environment and gives our life structure and value.
And right after that, we get the second, absolutely crucial pillar of this ecology: attachment. A meaningful job isn't enough. The text is crystal clear. Being alone is not good. A truly flourishing life requires a deep, meaningful connection with another person, an indispensable companion to share it all with.
So there you have it. The delight of this walled garden isn't just about the pretty scenery. It's a psychological state, and it's built on two unshakable foundations: having a meaningful purpose that engages you with the world, and having a secure attachment that grounds you in a deep relationship. That, right there, is the architecture of human flourishing. But, as we all know, the story doesn't end there in that perfect state. Something happens that completely shatters this perfect ecology. This is the pivotal moment we call the fall, but it might be more accurate to think of it as the fall into self-consciousness. This one line is so powerful, it perfectly captures that state of being before everything changed. It's a state of pure, unself-conscious innocence. They exist in perfect harmony, totally unaware of their own vulnerability, their own separateness. They don't think about themselves, they just are. Now, the myth uses this brilliant metaphor, a physical act, eating, to describe something happening psychologically. To eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil is to internalize a totally new kind of awareness. It's not about learning facts, like 2 plus 2 is 4. It's about assimilating the concept of yourself as a separate being.
And wow, the change is immediate, and it's catastrophic. The very first thing this new self-awareness brings is shame, and the second is fear. They suddenly see themselves as separate, as finite, as terribly vulnerable beings. That perfect, unthinking union with their world is just broken forever.
So, when you boil it all down, the fall isn't so much a fall into sin as it is the birth of the uniquely human condition. It's the moment we become aware of our own limitations, our own fragility, and that one terrifying piece of knowledge that defines us, the fact that one day we are going to die.
This forces humanity out of that walled garden and throws them headfirst into history. Life east of Eden, as the book puts it, is a fundamentally different kind of existence, one that's now defined by this new, heavy, burdensome awareness.
So this is our inheritance, right? This is the world we live in. We live with the constant knowledge of our own mortality. Our work is no longer just joyful cultivation, it's often a struggle, a desperate toil just to survive. We are forever cut off from that simple, unthinking harmony. But, and this is a huge but, this is also the beginning of everything we call human. Our art, our science, our cultures, they are all attempts to build a new kind of meaning in the face of this terrifying knowledge.
And this is where we find ourselves. We can never go back to the unthinking safety of the garden. We are conscious beings now, forced to live on the border, constantly mediating between the safe, known world we create for ourselves and the terrifying, chaotic unknown that always surrounds it. You could say our entire existence is the act of trying to build a new, smaller, more fragile garden out here in the wilderness.
And that leaves us with this one final massive question. The birth of self-consciousness brought us pain, it brought us fear, and it brought us mortality. But it also gave us everything that defines us as human beings. So was it a tragic mistake that we need to fix, or was it the painful, necessary, and maybe even desirable step into becoming fully human?